I am Luciano Battocchio. I am electrical engineer many years ago. And presently I'm still working as a senior advisor in a couple of space companies, one located in Czech Republic and the other one located in Italy, in the center Italy.
Can we jump straight into student questions? Because I'm already getting some message to me. Can the kids ask you questions, Luciano? Luciano, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we're going to jump straight into some student questions. Right now we have a question from Raul. And Raul, you should be able to unmute. You had a very good question for Luciano.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. So my question is, well, first of all, it's great to be here. You're very inspiring to me, and it's really good. So my question is, as a huge fan of planes and aviation, what would you say is most interesting within that field of studies, and how can that knowledge be applied later in aeronautics for space and things like that?
I have to say that since I am electrical engineer, I was studying a lot of different things. In particular, practically nothing related with space. I'm sorry for that. But the engineering school gave me a certain mentality, a certain opportunity to, let me say, to analyze the problems and to solve the problems, to find the solution of the problems. Sometimes I certainly utilized my experience. Now, in example, I am working with together with a company that is specialized in avionics and in avionics. But I have been also involved in other things that have nothing to do with electricity, like I have been program manager of the parachute of a lander on Mars. So it's totally different. But the problem is that the fact is that you have the experience during your job working. If you are, if for you the work is not only something that you have to do from 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but it is something that is necessary for you to for your growth, for your knowledge, for your fantasy. You could learn during your professional career a lot of things that are not part of your studies. Clearly, you must have an open mentality, open to understand what happens, what is behind the screen of a computer or behind the screen of the television.
So you talked to the kids, you mentioned it briefly about the parachute, the Mars lander and parachute. Yeah. Can you talk to the kids about how do you guys conceptualize that idea and then bring it to life?
For me?
Yes, you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, I was working with, I was the program manager, and so a program manager does not know necessarily all the technical details related with parachute. I would say that I started working on parachutes at I was 55 years old. Now I am 70 years old. I was 55 years old. So for me, it was something absolutely unknown. A parachute was a parachute. It was a sort of unidentified flying item. And I had to learn, and I was learning all the details, the tests, and so on. Clearly, now I am not in position to design a parachute. Now I am in position to follow the development and the design and development and the qualification of a parachute, because I know all the steps that are necessary. I have been program manager, so a program manager is something, is a discipline that could be applied to several programs, to also different programs. But clearly you must always have the open mind to understand what is the goal you have to reach, what is the way you have to follow in order to have this parachute flying, in my case, flying to Mars.
That's so crazy to think. And that the trip to Mars, I believe, is it 18 months? How long does it take to get from Earth to Mars?
To get to Mars, it depends on the orbit you follow, but it takes, let me say, from 6 to 9 months, typically. In the case of the program ExoMars, the ExoMars was launched in March, and it landed. Unfortunately, it had a crash, not due to the parachute, I want to say. It landed on Mars in November, so 8 months after, 7 months and after the launch. I agree with you. It's crazy to think 8 months travel, but I can tell you that it is even more crazy. Last year I read a news that the Voyager was flying at 14 billions of kilometers, that is more or less 9 billions of miles away from the Earth, and it was still connected to the Earth. It was sending signals, sending signals to the ground station. In particular, and you could go through in internet, you will find it, there is a picture that is absolutely fantastic. It's called the pale blue dot, and it's a picture where you have the blue sky and a very small pale dot in the center of that picture. That dot is our planet Earth, and the picture was taken by Voyager from 6 billions of kilometers. That is a bit less than 4 billions of miles. So you can imagine that there is in that small, let me say, dot, we are, it's our Earth, our planet. We are nothing in the universe. We are a very small dot in the universe, but it is not enough. We are killing ourselves. We are making wars, etc. Even if we are nothing in the universe. Anyway, go to see the pale blue dot in internet, find it, and you can imagine this was taken by 6 billions of kilometers from Voyager. It was taken in 1990.
That is just absolutely incredible. So 6 to 8 months, no traffic, right? Just kidding. We have a question from Mev in Italy. Mev, you should be able to unmute. You had a pretty good question. Go ahead, friend.
Hello, buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
The Italian aerospace industry is quoted as a high profile. And as an engineer, please tell us how can people travel on space direct to Mars, and where have you studied to make it possible? Thank you.
Okay. I have to say that the industrial consortium, the industrial space consortium in Italy is presently a very, let me say, quite a big consortium, because there are several thousands of people working on that, and the successes of the Italian space are absolutely interesting. I can mention a lot of things in terms of programs, either in the international consortium, like a significant part of the International Space Station, of the module of the International Space Station, have been manufactured here in Torino. But in example, near Rome, in Colleferro, there is let me say, the home base of the rocket Vega. There are a lot of other big industries. So I would suggest to start working. I would say that there are many opportunities of work in space business, starting from, let me say, analysis, engineering, scientific opportunities, and so on. In particular, in this time, we are thinking to return on the moon. And return on the moon means a lot, really a lot of activities, a lot of works. There must be a lot of engineers working on that, but not only engineers, also, let me say, agronomists. Also, there is the problem of the food, there is the problem of the health of the astronauts, and therefore medical doctors. There are a lot of aspects, because we are going on the moon, and the moon is a place where there are no facilities, no water. Well, the water is there, but it's we have to find it. That is not so easy. Clearly, in this case, there are a lot of opportunities. There will be a lot of jobs, a lot of activities. Clearly, I would recommend to make not only experience in Italy, but if possible also to go around the world, to go in the United States, first of all, clearly, because the United States is, let me say, it's on the edge of the moon, the race to the moon. But not only, you could go to France, to European Space Agency, if you have the possibility to make the stages. So there are a lot of possibilities and there are a lot of opportunities. The problem is to have always an open mind, always to think that the space is a big field, and every step you made is something new, something totally new that you can reach with your personal involvement, not only on the basis of it is not, let me say, a normal work. It's a work that takes you, if necessary, 16 hours a day.
That's, I mean, do you think that, and this is a question just for myself, do you think that the kids on this call will eventually see humans traveling to Mars?
Okay, the travel to Mars is okay. In order to have the humans traveling on Mars, to Mars, we must solve a lot of problems. I would say that there was one company, one from Netherlands, I think, that was called Mars One, and they were trying to organize the travels to Mars with the one-way ticket only, without the return ticket. And they launched an international call, and they received more than 100,000 people that wanted to go there. Really, to go, I believe that it will be possible to go to Mars, but the problems are so much that and the cost will be so high that I don't think it could be solved within few years. Let me give you an example, the problem of the radiations. Clearly, a travel of 6 months or 8 months to go to Mars would mean that the people will get so many radiations that at the end it will be really a health problem for them. And therefore, I think that this is one of the main points to be solved before going to Mars. Therefore, it is not, in my opinion, it is not possible to fix a date. I personally am convinced that if there will be, if there will restart with the economical increasing in the world, the date of 2050, 2060 could be realistic. Therefore, most, I would say that for me, I will not be any longer there, but I think that our school friends could see the first man walking on Mars. Maybe that one of them could be, no, maybe they will be too old, but certainly it will be a very exciting point.
I think so. A one-way ticket does not sound like that would be fun. Mars. It just doesn't seem that exotic. I don't know. So we'll go with one more student question and then we'll let you go because we know it's getting kind of late. And Oriel, you have a pretty good question, very straightforward. Go ahead and unmute when you get a second. Well, okay, go ahead, Fred.
My question was, how did you decide to have an engineering career? Like, when did you decide on how to be an engineer?
I decided I was very young. At the end, okay, in Italy there is the primary school that is 8 years, then the secondary school that is 5 years, and then university. At the end of the primary school, 8 years, so I was 13 years old, something like that, I went to the, in Italy is called Istituto Tecnico, that means technical institute, secondary school, technical secondary school, and I was studying electrical, let me say, quite engineer. And then I went again in the university, in the Politecnico di Torino, that is the technical university of my town of Torino, and I became an engineer. So I practically had 10 years of technical studies after the primary school.
That is very, very intriguing. And I know there's a lot of students on here that are interested in engineering as well as electrical engineering. So before we let you go, Luciano, can you give any advice to these kids as they go off into the world, because you have had a lifetime of experience? What advice would you have for these kids as they figure out what they would like to do in their journey?
Well, as I said, the most important thing is to to have the curiosity, to like the knowledge. Now there are a lot of possibilities to know. So every kind of, let me say, scientific activities could apply in the space, but not only on the space, also on the ground. The main driver is the curiosity, the willing of knowledge, the open mind, the open eyes to see one tree and to desire to understand how the tree is made, how the tree grows. You know, the main problem really is the curiosity. My mother-in-law, she is 97, but she has always the curiosity to know, to understand, to see, read books, newspapers, because you could take profit of several thousand years of civilization, and don't stop studying. After the school, after the university, there is the life, but please don't stop studying. Every day you could learn something more, something related both to your professional life, but also to your general life.
That is phenomenal advice. Don't stop studying. I love that. And we have, speaking of which, we have plenty of interesting guest speakers coming up for you guys. We have Plymouth Rock, which is a huge part of American culture. That's coming up next week. The Massachusetts State Park and Rec are giving us a tour of that. We have the director of the Boston School of Fashion, anyone who's interested in fashion. Luciano, before I end the meeting for all, before I go ahead and end this, I just want to say thank you, and I am going to allow everyone to unmute. And again, we'll have the recording of today's event available a little bit later today. But before we go, can everyone unmute and say thank you to Luciano for spending time out of his valuable day?
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.